Hey, Chem 1010 online students. Welcome to week 6. Uh, 2 more weeks, give or take, depending on when you're watching this, until spring break, and we get a little bit of a break, but this week we are pushing ahead. So let's get started. One of the first things I want to bring your attention to is I did update the late policy regarding experiments and reflection papers. There was nothing in the syllabus regarding that. You may have noticed that both the Dropbox and the quiz tool where you turn these 2 assignments in always stayed open 1 day extra. It will mark you late after the due date, but the Dropbox and the quiz tool for the experiments were open 1 day late, 1 day extra. But I've had a couple of you email me periodically this semester with issues saying, hey, any way I can turn this in even later. And so I am giving you a little bit more wiggle room than the 1 day that the Dropbox was normally open. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep those Dropboxes and for the reflection paper and the quiz tool for the experiments open through the following Sunday evening. So whenever it's due, because they're due all over the place, I'll just leave it open for late submissions through the following Sunday evening. That will give you some extra wiggle room. It will be late if you turn it in after the due date, and there will be a late penalty, but it's better than a 0, especially if you're almost done and you know it's a good assignment, that sort of thing. So to use at your discretion for that late turning in assignments. I do try to get those graded about a week or so after you turn them in, but I don't typically start for a couple of days. And so, because, I have certain days that I have to work on these, and if sometimes I can't work the day after a due date on these papers, I have other things going on, just like you do. So again, a little give and take. Hopefully that will help you. If you have any questions about this policy, or if you have any concerns about a particular assignment, please just send me an email. Let me know what's going on. I will do my best to work with you. I promise. I promise. I promise. I will do my best to work with you to come to an agreement so that you feel like you've been heard and you feel like you've had an opportunity to do things that you can do. We do get to drop a reflection paper at the end of the semester. We do get to drop an experiment at the end of the semester, with the exception of the bonding experiments, and that's just a quirk of the grade book. That's in the syllabus. And so if you miss one completely, it is not the end of the world as far as your grade goes. At the end of the semester, it will be your dropped assignment. All right, so there will be an announcement here as well for week 6 once I get this video made. Let's go to our content and open up our course schedule to print. I like this format, and so we can see what's going on. It is now Sunday, February 18th that I am making this video. Your exam 1 is due later this evening. Several of you have finished by the time I'm making this video. Doing great. Guys, keep it up. Hopefully you've gone back and you have reviewed. You will want to continue to go back and review, because here in a couple of weeks, right before spring break, we have our midterm exam due. And so we'll talk about that a little bit. So this week, the week of February 19th, it is wide open until the end of the week, where we have our Chapter 3 assignments due. And let me encourage you not to wait until Sunday to work on them. Please start working on them now and get that material covered. Your experiment 3 and reflection 3 are due at the beginning of the next week, so a little over a week from when I'm making this video. Go ahead and start taking a look at them. These are in the Chapter 3 folder, because shortly after those are due, your midterm exam is due. So you'll want to start reviewing early this week for your midterm exam. So just keep an eye on the next couple of weeks coming up and the due dates. Hopefully you've been doing that. So let's go to back to our table of contents. Again, we're starting on Chapter 3, Radiation from the Sun. And so we have our typical folders here: the homework and quizzes, the experiment, the reflection paper. The homework and quizzes are links to our Connect site. Hopefully you're getting familiar with how that works. The content, I skipped that one, is our typical one link for each section with some additional information, some additional videos that you might find helpful or interesting. The experiment is bonding. This is the first of a series. And in this experiment, I did a little tweaking on this and working with the instructions yesterday, so hopefully it's clear enough. You are writing Lewis structures, which is a skill that we learn in Chapter 3. So you're getting ready to learn it in Chapter 3. And this kind of goes through additional instructions. There is a data sheet that you will fill out. But for Part 1, you're only filling out these first 3 columns. Next week, the next experiment due is Part 2. You'll be filling out these. We're also doing another experiment in between, but there is a Part 3 where we'll be filling out this last column. So we're starting a 3-sequence experiment. Once you finish with Part 1, after it's due, you've turned it in, we are going to make sure everybody has the correct answers. It goes on and on, so there's quite a few. We're going to make sure everybody has the correct answers because you have to have these correct answers to do Part 2. You have to have the Part 2 correct answers to do Part 3. So be looking for ways to check those answers if you missed some. And I'll be marking as you missed some to make it clear which ones you need to maybe look at a little bit more closely. So there's our first experiment. Once you filled out that data sheet, you don't turn in that data sheet. You go to this quiz and complete it. And this one's going to be a little different. So this quiz is your lab report, and you will be looking at your Lewis structures to answer these questions. Once you submit your first attempt, it's going to grade it, and if you're happy with that grade, you're done, but it's going to show you the ones that you missed so that you can attempt the ones you missed again for an average score. So once you finish your first attempt, you can see the questions that you missed, not the correct answers. You get to attempt them again. I would ask questions about the ones you missed before you tried it the second time, which means you need to start working on this before the due date. And if you have questions, there is our discussion board linked right here. You can get help in between your attempts by posting on that. You might want to take a screenshot or a picture of your Lewis structure and say, what did I mess up here? Am I interpreting this wrong? I answered that there were this, but it said it was wrong. What's going on? And you can get feedback from both your classmates and from me in between your attempt. And it is an average of your 2 attempts. So give it your best shot on your first attempt, but you have the potential of bringing up your score a little bit on your second attempt by fixing the ones that you missed. So that is the experiment for this coming week. All right. The reflection paper for this coming week is here. And let me point out on both of them, per the new late policy, there is a due date. After that due date, it is considered late, but I have opened the box, giving you availability to upload late reports through the following Sunday. If you ever see a date that looks wrong, email me. I may have made a mistake. So that's why this is actually open till March 3rd, but it's counted late. If you turn it in after February 27th, it is counted late and there is a late penalty. Same thing if I go back here to the experiment. It is due February 27th. Oops, I forgot to open that through the following Sunday. I'll go back and open that through the following Sunday. Again, if you see any dates that look weird, please let me know. And let me double check. February 28th. Yeah, I forgot to open that through the following Sunday. I'll fix that. All right. So that's what's coming up this week. Let me go back to that schedule. I love this view of the schedule. It really helps me organize. Again, that experiment 3 and reflection paper are not due this week. They're due early next week, and so you can start looking at them and working on them as you wrap up Chapter 3 for this week. As always, please shoot me an email if you have any questions or post on our discussion board. I'm happy to help you there as well. All right, those of you who haven't finished the exam, good luck. It is due this evening, Sunday evening, and hang in there. We got 2 more weeks before spring break. You can do it, and then we'll get a little bit of a break.